Hello, yes, that's right. It's Joe here, live for Joyrider TV, back with some more scintillating Q&A. Thanks very much to everybody for turning up already. So, as advertised on this week's title of the video, we're going to be taking a look into how you can most improve in the new year. So making a plan to make your sailing the best it's ever been. And not just the sailing, the things that go with the sailing as well, which I think could, it's like a little bit of time spent now is going to pay off forevermore. That's nice. That sounds like an investment in the future. If you are going to stick with this sport, then why not make that investment of just, let's get into it, shall we? I'd just like to say hello to everybody who's here already. We'll be catching up with you guys shortly. Okay. So the first thing that, if we're going to make this change and improve your sailing, the first thing to do is to really identify what areas of your performance you feel are the strongest and the weakest. So, so what you can do is write down headings. Nice to do it on a bit of paper and a pen. With a pen, write down headings and then rate each area out of 10 how you feel you are, perhaps just relative to your, like, let's say your tacking is absolutely spectacular. You're really happy with your tacking. So make it relative to your own performance. So 10 out of 10 for tacking, because tacking is what you're best at. But perhaps your ability to fly the hull and keep the hull in the air is poor, is in fact the worst thing, because maybe you get really nervous and don't keep it flying for very long, or who knows why it's not working for so long. So score that low, like give that a 3 or something if you think it's worthy of a 3, and then rank everything else using that as your scale. It's not as good as the tacking, but it's better than the flying a hull. Let's give that 4. And then from giving everything like those scores, you can then isolate what it is with your performance, what it is that you need to work on most. So there we are. That's the start. I think that's the flying start. So here we go. Let's get into it. So when you go out, the way it's going to work is you need to spend a certain percentage of your time out on the water actually doing focused training. It doesn't need, maybe the words focused training sound a little bit harsh. It doesn't need to be a little bit harsh. It's actually just practicing the areas that you're not very good at for a bit of the time that you're going out. For example, if you were going to go out for an hour and a half and your intention is just to go out and have a lovely sail, very nice. I think that's what a lot of us like to do. But perhaps you can allocate maybe 10, maybe just 5 minutes of that time to practicing something specific. Yeah. And so what could these things be which you could practice? All right. So I've done a bit of preparation, made a list. So we'll start off with the maneuvers or techniques. And some things can cause you frustration every time you go out sailing. For example, top of the list, I think for most people, is tacking. If your tacking is not 100%, if you're not making all of your tacks, then definitely don't give it a high score, because when you've failing tacks, that can start to build frustration, whether you're recreationally sailing or on the race, definitely on the race course. If you blow a tack, you are going to not be having as much of a good time as you were before that happened. So tacking, how can you work on tacking? You can just go out and spend 5 minutes, get the boat going upwind. When it's going upwind, go for a tack, going through all the measures. We don't need to talk about how exactly we should be tacking just now. There are several videos I've made on that, which really do focus in on all of the specifics that you need to do. But get the boat going, settle, and then go for a tack, and then perhaps score that tack out of 5. How was that tack? All right, I think it was a 3. Why is that? It went pretty well. Well, it took us ages to get going again on the new side. Okay, why do we think that might have been? And think, all right, we'll focus on the main sheet on the next tack, and go for another tack. As soon as you are sailing nicely again, go for another one and spend 5 minutes just doing that. And then if you've just done that, to be honest, then you might as well practice jibing on the way downhill as well. And next on the list after tacking, which goes along with if your tacking hasn't worked so well, is getting the boat moving again after it's stalled. This can be a huge frustration, especially for sailors of boats with asymmetric hulls. The Hobie 14 being one of the main culprits for this. So I'm just actually going to draw a tip to getting the boat moving if it's stalled and nothing seems to be working. Stalled meaning you just can't get it moving forwards again, or every time it starts going forwards, it heads up into the wind and stops again. So 3 main points. So first one, what to do with the sails. If it absolutely won't get going again, let the traveller off, main sheet loose. That's number 1. Number 2, have the rudders straight. Don't try to pull the rudders towards you if the boat's not moving forwards. Number 3, where to go, where to sit on the boat. The further towards the back of the boat that you go, this is going to move our pivot point further back, which means we've got more boat in front of the pivot point, more of the center of effort of the rig. I know we're going into some detail here. That wasn't my intention, but let's do it. You've got more of the sail area in front of the pivot point, which means there's more effort pulling the boat away from the wind, which is going to get you moving. If that's not working, and if it's not too windy, the other thing you can do is actually, this is the number 1 spot, sat at the back on the leeward side, for really getting the boat to pivot there, and then the boat will come away from the wind very nicely. All right, so that's number 2 on the list. So we mentioned jibing. You know, jibing is pretty easy, unless it's really windy. But the things that might be not right with your jibing is it might not be very smooth. The boom might come across really aggressively. You might catch your arm on the main sheet quite frequently, which isn't very nice. Or you might oversteer on the exit of your jibe, things like that. So it can be beneficial to work on the jibing as well. In fact, what you could do is, as we go through, you could just make a note of these headings, because I've given it some thought to score yourself on. Next one, mark rounding. In fact, I'll put this in the description of the video so you can check that afterwards. Obviously, I can't do it right now. Mark rounding. Even if you're not racing, it is a skill which is well worth practicing. So hopefully there'd be something out in the area of water that you go sailing on like that. And the first part of mark rounding is judging the angles when you would need to tack to get around it. So we generally always go round marks, leaving them on the left side, the port side of the boat. So when we get here, we could think, right, we need to tack, because then when we tack again, that will set us up nicely for the next one. So tack again, go round, and then perhaps come back down to approximately the same starting point. And then you could do one from the other side. Head upwind here. Is that what would happen? Yeah, head upwind there, tack, and then just do that a few times, and trying to apply the good boat handler's guide to mark rounding, which is wide in, tight out. There we go. Something else you could practice. Next one on the list, trapezing. Maybe you haven't yet started helming on the trapeze. Maybe you are trapezing, but you don't feel particularly comfortable. Or maybe you're comfortable on the trapeze, but the transition moving in and out from the boat isn't very fluent. And perhaps when you go out on the trapeze or come in, you have got a tendency to steer a bit and the boat moves. That's something that could definitely be worked on. Perhaps even if you don't feel that your level of physicality is up to helming on the trapeze, you could at least, if you've got a harness, you could at least try the half trapezing position, which we've talked about before. Like if this is the hull, there's the beam, there's the mast, where you hang your buttocks over the edge, hooked into the trapeze, and just sail along in that position, just to get used to that sensation. And also that when it's a bit windier, that is going to give you some good leverage to help to keep the boat down, so you can sail a bit faster. Well worth practicing that. And then we come on to the next category, which is speed. We like this. Yeah. So just maintaining speed for the whole of a time period. So making sure that your boat is sailing as fast as you know how for a time period. And I'm not talking about doing Joyrider TV style speed runs, more like on your upwind leg, even if it's light winds, you just think about sailing with perfect trim and perfect sail setting. Of course, if you're not completely sure about what that should be, there are videos on the channel which you can refer to. If you think that perhaps your upwind boat speed isn't as good as it could be, then worth working on. All right, and then on to the next major category, which is control. How we can have more control of the boat. Great exercise for really focusing in on your control of the boat is flying the hull. Just trying to sail along for as long as possible with the hull in the air, just using the steering, the main sheet, and your weight coming in and out to keep the hull flying for as long as possible. Of course, don't do it if you're worried that if you think about what you'll do if you capsize. Practicing flying the hull does come with a potential consequence of capsizing if you push it a bit too far. So if you are going to capsize, are you confident that you'll either be able to bring the boat back upright, or is there someone who'll come and help you if you're not able to get the boat upright? Just keep that in mind. Safety is very important. Other things you could practice under the banner of control would be holding your position. So again, we've got our handy buoy out on the water. And again, even if you're not thinking about racing, great for control. If you saw the video on race training, all you need is a buoy and a watch. That one, just park your boat next to the buoy and see how long you can stay for. So what we're trying to get at here is that when you go out on the water, if it's not for a race or something organized, or if you're not meant to be going off to another beach to have a barbecue with your buddies, then just allocate a bit of your session time to a little bit of practice, because that little bit of practice will go a long way. Like this holding position kind of exercise is really going to help if you go sailing somewhere new where the launch isn't very easy. Like perhaps you've got to sail in through a channel and there's other boats in the channel, which means you might have to wait. That's not a very good picture, by the way. You might have to wait before you can actually approach the slipway or the jetty or wherever it is that you're putting the boat. So the holding your position exercise, very nice. What else have I got on here? Another one is a man overboard type drill you could practice. In a nutshell here, if this buoy is the man overboard, wind's blowing straight down, when the man overboard falls off, you just sail away from him, not too far. You just have, this is something you will you'll get this the more times that you practice, how far to sail away. You don't want to sail away so far that you can't see the man overboard anymore. So not too far, and then we're just going to come downwind and do a very drawn out jibe, and then approach on a close reach, easing the sails out as you come back to slow down. We want to control our speed more in this situation by using our sails and not by steering if it's possible. Of course, 9 out of 10 times anybody does this, they end up just steering up a little bit as you get next to the man overboard. And then the end position where you want to put him is not very popular choice, is to scoop him up between the bows like here. But if you don't manage to slow down, you could whack your man overboard with the dolphin striker. And last time I looked, he's not a dolphin. Yeah, so here is the spot where you want him to end up. Yeah, so practice your man overboard. What else have we got? And then the start line drill, worth practicing, even if you're not interested in racing. It all helps your sailing technique for whatever it is that you're doing on the water. There we are. So there may be some of you who are thinking, actually, I'm quite happy with my level of sailing, and I don't want to waste any of my good sailing time doing any of these exercises. I just want to go along and have a good time. Well, that's great. If if you are happy with where you are really winning the game of sailing. Because in the game of sailing, the person who's winning, I may have said this before, is the person who is having the most fun. This is what me and Swedish John have always been telling each other at an event. As long as we can have more fun than anybody who is finishing in a higher position than us on the race course, it actually means that we've won, because the whole point of going sailing is to have a good time. So if you're having a better time than everybody else, that means you're winning. So if you're grinning, you're winning. Yes, you heard it here first. All right. So, yeah, very important. So if you're happy with your sailing, you're already winning. But even if you're happy with the sailing, you may feel that there's areas in the preparation of your boat which could be improved. Is there something that happens every time maybe you take your boat off the trailer that makes you think pretty much every time, if you're thinking, I'm sure there must be a better way of doing this, but let's just do it the same way every time. If you're thinking like that, then check out the videos on the channel, do some research, and then actually approach it with a methodical way to doing it better the next time, and start getting into the habit of doing it better. Also, when you put your sails up, is it really, really, really hard to put up your mainsail? If it is, it shouldn't be that hard. So again, do some research, wash your sail. That's going to help. Get your boat on its side, give the mast track a wash, that kind of thing. And it shouldn't be that hard. You might need to replace some blocks, that sort of thing. The launching of the boat and the recovery, putting your boat in and out of the water, does that feel like it goes pretty well at your local sailing spot? Or does it feel a bit clanky, but it's not going as well as it should? Perhaps if it's not going as well as it should, you need to modify your system slightly so that you can be, the actual sailing's going well, but maybe the when you come in from the beach, come in from sailing, your process of getting the boat back on the beach isn't working so well. Perhaps we can analyze that. If there's any parts of this that you can't find a solution to your problem, that's what these sessions are for. So you can either put something in the comments, say, no matter how different many ways I try to do this, it is still not working very well. Then perhaps between us, between you, me, and the Joyrider TV worldwide global community, we can find a solution. Oh, yes, we are changing the world here in terms of having a good time with our catamarans. All right. And I have written here on my notes, the most important thing to get right with all of your sailing is to make sure that the mast isn't going to fall down. Yes, this is a boat preparation point, but I've said it before, I'll say it right now. If you haven't replaced the rigging that holds the mast up, perhaps in the last 5 years, maybe it's time just to invest in some new shrouds, new forestay. If you're sailing a 1974 catamaran and you're pretty sure that the connectors which connect the shrouds to the hull are original, maybe it's time to replace them, because this metal fatigue, it doesn't give you any clues when it's going to break, and keeping the mast up is very important. Why is this? I hear you cry. It's because if the mast falls down, not only is it a massive inconvenience, a mess of stuff, you'll need to fix it, but also you could damage your sails, you could damage your trampoline, and you could get injured. So it really is important to make sure, I know it sounds obvious, that your mast isn't going to fall down. And then one last thought under the banner of improving how you're doing things. This is a good one. Is when you approach anything, like if it's a boat maintenance thing or launching your boat or doing a maneuver, just try to approach it as if you were a professional. Just think, how would a professional go through this? It wouldn't be kind of like a bit sloppy, a bit like, all right, I've got to sheet the main in. I'm just going to put the tiller extension on the deck. and where every time I sheet in, the boat changes course. That's not very professional. Think about how a professional would do these things. And then, even though you may not be a professional, if you start acting in a more professional way, then before you know it, that is going to become the way that you do it, and everything is going to improve. Of course, you can apply this mindset to all areas of your life. Yeah. So even in the kitchen, how would a professional do this? Probably get someone else to do it. Okay. But you know what I'm saying. In the kitchen, in all the rooms of the house. I'm not going to say in the bedroom, that would be smutty. I'm not going to say it. But just treat things as if you're a professional, and before you know it, things can change. We're coming up to the new year. That's why I'm going philosophical on you. And I live in Greece, which is where this stuff was invented. So there you go. I think that is a flying start to this session. I hope that helped somebody out there, and maybe somebody thought this sounds like a good idea. Actually, I could really do with working on my trapezing, and it's the sort of thing that you just put up with it not being as good as it could be, unless you actually think it's time for a change. Let's do this better. All right, just going to check in with everybody who's checking in. Hello to Leland Lee in Clearwater, Florida, hitting the start line in first there. Nice to have you on board. We've got Gabriel in Benidorm on the Costa del Sol, I believe it is, in Spain. Nice to have you with us, Gabriel. Mr. Tony KP in, I think it's Ebeltoft, Denmark, says greetings and Happy New Year to everyone. And Kush is on board from Michigan City, Indiana, USA. It has been, if this is the same Kush, Michael, it has been a long time, but welcome back to the center of the catamaran sailing world. That's perhaps a little bit arrogant to say that. But anyway, got Philip on board, tuning in from Ireland. Hope it's all going well there, Philip. Robert's with us in the Netherlands. We got Benny in Sweden. Happy Cat Year. Don't know if it is the year of the cat this year. If someone would like to look that up, that would be very interesting, of course. We've got Jan Leo. He's greetings from Colorado. He's traded winter sailing for 3 months of skiing. Did I make the right call? Yeah, because to be honest, even here in Sailor's Paradise, Vasiliki, the wind is there isn't any. There's no wind, so some other type of sport can be inserted into that slot where champagne sailing used to be. So I think it's fair to swap sailing for something that works better at that time of year. But aren't you meant to be training to be a doctor, Jan Leo? Not saying anything, but anyway, thanks for tuning in. Good to hear from you. Joachim's on board in, I think that would be in Argentina. Great to have you with us on the good ship, Q&A Joyrider TV. And also tuning in, we've got all the way from Switzerland in the snow. We've got Marty, who's actually from New Zealand. And I think that is a good time to have a look at Marty's preloaded question that he has. I've got this new thing that YouTube have done, by the way, where YouTube are now automatically putting the ads into live stream. So I just had to press the button so that you guys didn't get this transmission interrupted with commercials. It's okay. All right, so Marty has got a Hobie 18 Classic, and he has recently got a new mainsail on there, and the new mainsail is a square top. Marty says he didn't feel that he noticed any big performance, although it is difficult to tell without any constant test parameters. Like other boats would be the best way of gauging whether that helped, how much it helped or not. But he's asking, what are the disadvantages and advantages of a square top sail? So if you're not sure what I'm talking about, there are two, for the types of boats that we're talking about, there's two main types of mainsail. There's what would be considered the more traditional type. Here's the boom. And then we've got the battens in there. This is our more traditional sail shape, which even on boats up to probably boats designed up to around, I would say 2005, 2006, something like that, as standard, the normal design of sails. 2005, maybe a bit earlier, 2003, the boat would as standard come with this shape of sail, which in Greece is known as a cheese pie, which is one of my favorite things about living in Greece. Not the cheese pie, but there are many good things, by the way, not just that this type of sail is called cheese pie. I do find it quite entertaining though, because it's shaped like a cheese pie, which you get here. The other shape of sail is the more modern design known as a square top, and you'll generally have a square top. And originally with the square top sails, the designers, what they were trying to do is make the top batten in the sail as long as possible, because what the square top sail is doing is it's putting more, it's meaning that you've got a more consistent sail area all the way up the mast. Whereas on a cheese pie, hope everyone's happy with that term, on a cheese pie, you've clearly got a ton of sail area low down and not so much high up. So what are the benefits of the square top mainsail? The first benefit, which is one of the most obvious ones, is if you sail somewhere where the wind is quite affected by things that are on land, then a tall rig is going to give you more power at the top, which means if a lot of the gusts or a lot of the wind isn't hitting low down at sea level, then higher up the rig, you're going to be benefiting from the wind that does make it there. So that's the start. The next thing that we're going to get from the square top mainsail, or the high aspect mainsail is another way that we can describe it, is it is going to be more lift, less drag. Because if you, I read somewhere today during the research, is gliders which need to be as efficient as possible. You know, a glider in like an airplane, but without an engine, need to be as efficient as possible. And gliders have very high aspect wings, more like this. Whereas stunt planes, or let's say stunt planes with an engine, would have much lower aspect wings, which make them more maneuverable, and it gives more kind of power for the amount of speed. So this will pick the airplane up. No, it won't. It's opposite. This needs less power to get it going. This needs more power, but it will have more grunt, more torque, let's say. So, but what does this actually mean? With a high aspect sail, we'll be able to sail closer to the wind in less wind as well. More efficient, less efficient, but on a reaching course, two sail reaching, the low aspect sail, like on a beam reach half wind, for example, the low aspect sail will have the benefit, the advantage because of this kind of drive. What in cars you'd call it, maybe you'd call it in everything, more torque, more kind of driving power. Whereas with the high aspect sail, it would give you more lift. But if you don't need that lift because you're on a reaching course, then the cheese pie is going to take the cheese. Also, on a sail like this, you're going to be able to get a much more even curve in the whole rig because the battens are more of a similar length. It's going to be more tunable to the conditions. Also, you're not going to have to, if you were sailing, like on your 18, which did have a cheese pie, now it's got a square top, you're not going to have to work as hard to maintain the same amount of power because this top batten has got an elasticity to it. So in the gust, it's going to bend off a little bit or straighten. And then when that gust goes, it's going to close on itself. The square top is also going to be more reactive to what you do with the downhaul. So when you downhaul hard a square top sail, you should be able to get it very flat. Whereas with a cheese pie sail, you're never really going to get it as flat as the square top. There we go. I think we're gonna just leave that there. But yeah, so you should be around a course. You should certainly be feeling that a square top sail is going to give you more advantage around a course compared to the same boats with a cheese pie up the mast. All right. All right, we got Mark and Janet on board in Ohio, getting on the sunny side of the solstice. Yes, I've noticed even now that the days are getting longer. Not much longer, but a bit. We've got Ban Flex on board. Hello. Welcome on board the good ship. Aaron is with us in New Zealand. Good morning. Must be getting towards the crack of dawn there. All right, Joachim says, I'm probably moving to a town with a small lake soon. Too small for my F-18 to make sense there. What boat would you recommend to have fun on a small lake? Let's say it's 1 kilometer diameter. Yeah, certainly not something with a, I would say that a spinnaker is excessive. If you're sailing with two people, small lake, yeah, certainly something that isn't as quick as an F-18. I would always, without having seen this body of water, the Hobie 16 is of course a favorite, and there are a lot of them about. Perhaps you could do some research, see if there's other people sailing on that lake and what types of boat they're sailing, because what's nice if you're going to a new venue is to fit in by having a class that is represented at that venue. So so you can race against those other boats. Very nice. If it is really a small body of water, then yes, I am now an advocate of the Miniat or any the Miniat, which is an inflatable catamaran, which is still a lot of fun. It makes you smile, but no way near as quick as the conventional catamarans like the F18 or the Hobie 16. So another option. But perhaps looking at what you might have available to you in that part of the world, the 16 would be a good starting point, because there are, of course, more 16s everywhere around the world than anything else. So starting point. All right, we've got Hans on board. Hello, Hans. Great to have you with us. Says, wishing you and other catamaran sailors a good start to the new year. Very nice. All right, thanks, Hans. All right, more from Joachim is, I guess, not something as fast, but easy to rig and shallow draft. A mini cat. Yeah, there we are. Sadly, hard to get there. They do use motorboats for fishing. I quitted laser for a bad knee. Yeah, I think the mini cat, if it is that small, would certainly tick the right boxes, because even from in the car or in the truck or in the van or on the roof of the car to in the water only takes, I think, I'm guessing once you've done it a couple of times, you'd streamline your process, like we were talking about at the start. Streamline your process, perhaps leave the trampoline assembled, and then it would the only time consuming bit is inflating the hulls. If you got an electric pump to do the hulls, it would probably only take you 20 minutes to go from the bag to the water. Yeah, so, and that's a great choice, easy storage. And if it's not windy, or if there's no wind, at least you haven't just towed a trailer down there. You could go off and do something else instead. All right, we've got Ryan on board in Maui, Hawaii. Good morning from the Pacific. It's the weekend. Oh, yes. Everyone's getting revved up for a good weekend. Oh, yeah, of course. It's New Year's Eve, I believe, on Sunday, is it? What's it? Tomorrow's the 30th. Yeah, so New Year's Eve. Lovely. All right, we've got Shenandoah 2 in France. Greetings from the good ship Joyrider TV. Jan Leo says it's blowing 30 knots in Berlin, Germany right now. Wowzers, that must be chilly if the wind is not from the south. All right, so Mark and Janet say 2024 is the year of the dragon or dragoon. So nice one for dragoon sailors out there. It's your year. Ryan says, and this really is the center of the Beach Cat universe. You're speaking the truth. At least that's why I'm here. Nice. All right, Daniel says hi. All right, Marty says perfect. Thanks. Explains a lot. You are welcome. It's my pleasure. We've got Christian on board. Don't think I've seen you around that much recently, Christian. Not since the virtual regatta stuff we were doing during lockdown. That was fun. I enjoyed the virtual regatta. Virtual regatta is an online sailing racing simulation game, which it's got to be the best one out there. And it really does give you the feel when you're sat in your living room on your iPad, or in your office when you're meant to be working on your PC or whatever. It really does give you the same emotions of if you are actually on the race course, of that kind of bit of stress before the start. Perhaps not as much, because if you get it wrong, it's not quite as bad. But that, and then the disappointment or the elation, depending on whether you make good or bad decisions. Good fun. All right. So Christian says, how to trim for big waves while going upwind. All right. This is probably, I'm not going to lie to you, this is probably the weakest area of my actual knowledge with the cat sailing. because for the last getting on for 30 years, I have been a flat water specialist here in Vasiliki Bay, Greece, where yeah, it's but how would I trim for going upwind in waves? If they're big waves, what I would do is, I don't need to draw a picture actually. First, the only thing with the rig, which I would do different to if it was flat water, is I would sail with a slightly looser outhaul, which is going to bring your center of effort lower down. Like we were saying with the sails, the cheese pie sail with the lower center of effort is going to give more drive, more torque, and that is what you're going to want for the big waves. So slightly looser outhaul. So if it's possible, if you can get the same amount of curve in the bottom of your sail as the bottom batten, then you are in the right arena there. If you're sailing a 16 and the outhaul is the foot of the sail goes into the boom, there's not so much you can do there, but certainly have it a bit looser, but not so much that you get creases when you pull in the main sheet. Yeah, so that is what I would do with the actual tuning of the boat. Perhaps one other thing might be to put the mast a little bit further back. That might make the boat slightly more forgiving in those conditions. But the main difference that I would apply in those wavy conditions is to sail with the trapeze lines slightly shorter so that you're getting lifted up more. So you're less likely to get hit by the waves on the trapeze. That is what I would look at. Yeah, I think that's about the size of the only differences I'd make. But perhaps the top F18 guys might have more that they do when they're going out with the waves. Yeah, I'm not sure. All right, Christian adds, and what about solid wing sails? Yeah, that is not something that is particularly common with the types of boats that we're talking about here. But with the solid wing sail, that's taking this high aspect square top sail to the next level, because the reason the solid wing sails are so effective is because I believe, no, I don't believe, do I believe? I'd have to have a bit more of a look, but with the solid wing sails, do they actually have this profile like the wing of an aeroplane, where on the leeward side you've got that curve and on the windward side it's flat? Are they like that, or are they more like, I know they're not curved, they're more angled, so then you've got a very thin back edge angled, and it's actually kind of part of the mast like that. Yeah, I'd have to look into that a bit, but the reason the solid wing mast is effective is because the amount of control you have over the shape is absolute, and you really can get the shape exactly to what you want to have it. But on the types of boats that we're talking about, I think we're a couple of years off just yet. Although moving up a size into the C-class catamarans, so the Tornadoes are B-class, 20 feet long. The C-class cats, I believe, are 25 feet long, still two-person boats, but they are now foiling catamarans with these solid wing masts. So we're not too far away from that sort of technology. There we go. All right, Daniel T says, this is a hot potato of a question. Hobie Wave versus Miniat for small lake. Yeah, I would say if you wanted to leave the boat there assembled, Hobie Wave. If you didn't have the facility to leave the boat there and you had to take it home every time, then perhaps the Miniat. Although if you were taking the boat to the lake on a trailer, then and you were going to store the boat outside your house, perhaps on the trailer, then the Hobie Wave would perhaps be quicker. If you Hobie Wave on a trailer versus Miniat in the bag, the boat on the trailer is going to be ready a lot quicker because the platform is already assembled. But in terms of fun sailing, I think it'd be fairly equal. It's just the inflatable hulls are definitely more new school, and they haven't been around for as long to the masses of sailors as the molded hulls have been. Miniat a lot lighter. Yeah, so I would say transport, storage, you get something fairly similar performance-wise out of both types of boat. So it's all about the storage and the transport, I would say. All right. Ryan in Maui says, wasn't Christian the one who was going to sail from Washington to, where's that, AK? Oh, Ankara, Arizona on a 16. Yes, that's right. Sorry, Christian. I thought you were a different Christian. But the other Christian had a very similar name. But hello, Christian. Now I remember who you are. Very good. All right, we got Tim on board. Finally catching you, Q&A live. Great stuff. All right, Hobie One is with us. Nice to have you with on the good ship. It's a symmetrical airfoil with a large control surface to control camber. Right, okay, so it's symmetrical, so it isn't like this asymmetric shape. Thank you for that. It's fiddly to tack and asymmetric shape. Yeah, okay, I get you. All right. I was thinking maybe with the mechanics inside the wing, you could change shape. I know there was some wings on absolute speed machines that were kind of if that's the wing like that, they were held on a thing here. So when you tack, it flips over. Or did I just dream that? I don't know. All right. Anyway, I hope everyone's having a lovely time. I have got a another question in the what you call it, in the preloaded, and this is from Gabriel. Is this Gabriel who's on board at the moment? It is. Aha. All right. I've got Gabriel's preloaded question, and he's asking about footstraps. Yes. All right. So, footstraps, mounting footstraps. All right. So, firstly, before we even talk about the question in that we've got on the table, so let's just look at the definition, because there's occasionally people get it wrong, and it's all right. It's not all right. We're looking down onto the boat. Here's the hulls. Here's the trampoline. Now, footstraps are these straps that we'd have on the side of the boat. Maybe if it's a Dart 18, I think you have 3. Those we call footstraps. And then the straps that we have on the trampoline, these ones are called toe straps. Very important just to get that those definitions out there now. There we go. So Gabriel is saying he's looking at installing foot straps on his Hobie Pacific. I'd firstly say you're very lucky to have a Hobie Pacific. There's not actually that many of them around globally. So very nice. Such a great boat. So where to position them? There is a little bit of personal preference involved here. So if that's the hull, we're just looking at towards the back of the hull. Yeah, it kind of, if you find that when you go sailing, there's always a spot where you end up putting your back foot, because one position might not be the same for you as it would be for me or for Marty or for Kush or for Jan Leo or someone. Everybody has a different kind of preference to how they like to stand on the boat and when they feel that a foot strap would be beneficial. But for me, the foot strap, if you're putting one foot strap on each side of the boat, the best place to put it is right at the back. So you'd have the front part of the foot strap like this. And then the other part of the foot strap, we'd actually bolt into the hull, but through the transom there. So it really is as far back as it could go. So it's kind of your choice in how far back you'd want to put it, but I would put it as far back as possible, because it's when you're in that position, that's when you really feel that you could use a foot strap. How to go about mounting it? What you want to get is what's nice, or actually, let's just go through the procedure. So once you've decided where you're going to put it, I would want to get one bolt in straight away once it's in position. So if we just look down onto the top of the hull like this, there's your hatch cover, and let's say you are going to put the foot strap there. So that is where it's flat on the hull. Then that's where it kind of loops round in a foot strappy way. And then it goes onto the back of the hull. So I would attach it to the back first. And it feels pretty weird doing it, but once you've got the bolts that you're going to use, we're going to use nuts and bolts. I would go for the biggest size of bolts that will go, that the foot strap is designed to take. And you're just going to drill those holes through the back of the boat. Ouch. And then on the outside of the foot strap, there should be some sort of big plate which the bolts go through to spread the load so that it's not going to pull out. And then on the inside of the hull, the ideal would be if you could get hold of, rather than, if these are the bolts on the inside of the hull, rather than having one washer on each one, it will spread the load much better if you can get a big plate that does them both, which you could drill. You could drill this when the foot strap's off the boat, drill the holes in the right position through the foot strap into the plate. So that's going to spread the load more and it's going to be stronger. So this back one is going to be really strong. And then once you've got, and when you're putting it in, use some sealant. Make sure, of course, that the holes that you're drilling are the right size for the bolts that you're going to put in. Make sure they're not too big. And and use some sealant, good sealant. I used to just use like the bathroom sealant, but now using something of a high quality like Sikaflex just is going to give you that extra peace of mind that you've used some really good stuff, and it's less likely that your boat's going to leak in the future. I think we just had a very mild earthquake, by the way. Interesting. And then once you've got the back one in, then you can determine where you're going to put the front part of the foot strap, because if you have it too far back, it's going to be too difficult to get your foot in. And if it's too far forwards, then it's not going to feel right. It's not actually going to hold your foot very much at all. So with the sailing boot, which is most likely to be worn when it goes in there, get the width that you want to have it correct, and then mark where to put the holes on the inside. And it's the same process on the front bit as well. And then the final thing with foot straps on the hull like this is when somebody is helping you to move your boat, if they're at the back of the boat, they will automatically go to lift your boat by the foot strap, but you just have to ask them not to, because this is for your foot when you're sailing, not to lift the whole weight of the boat. Just better that way. Okay. I hope that was a good explanation there, Gabriel. And thanks for the question. We got just in at the end there. We've got Toot on board in Texas. Happy festive times, Toot. I hope you're having a good time on the ranch. And I think Toot finishes off by having the most useful point: hit the like button. Oh yes. So I'm going to call it a day there, because I think there's some festive stuff to start hitting upstairs in the palatial residence here of Joyrider TV. So thanks to everyone for tuning in. Everybody, I hope you have an absolutely great transition into the new year. And at the moment, what I'm thinking, because the speed stick is almost finished, I'm thinking of actually doing the speed stick conclusion as a live video, which I'm thinking of doing it on New Year's Day at the normal time. Now, would that work for everyone? So 6 o'clock Greek time, which is 5 o'clock Central European time, 4 o'clock in the UK. Will that work for everyone on New Year's Day at that time if we did it live? And I think that might be quite nice. See who won the getaway challenge. Still open, of course. You know, Ryan, I think you've got a getaway at your disposal. You can go out and smash it tomorrow. All right. So there we go. So New Year's Day, the usual time, will be live for the Speed Stick final results from 2023. Lovely old job. Thanks very much, everybody. Have a great weekend, a great transition, and I'll see you on the other side. Thank you.